Hello, we are live, and I am excited to have a great conversation and bring a great conversation to all of you. My guest today is the writer and founder and publisher of Lone Wolf Comics. He's best known for the Kickstarter funded ongoing series Nightwolf, the fifth issue of which just dropped and is funding now on Kickstarter. And he's been also works as full time as a web and graphic designer, and has been working in the digital marketing industry for over a decade, and brings a wealth of experience to the table. Welcome back to Comics Launch, Mr. Rob Multari. How you doing, man?
Good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. As always, great talking to you all the time.
Can you hear that? Can you hear that? I got my wolf howling just for you. And the wolf pack. Turns out real wolves howling sound more like an alarm than.
I thought it was a train going on.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like a choo-choo train. But hey, I'm excited to chat with you. You've got this is launch day, and I know that always brings a ball of nerves and everything, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But for the uninitiated. This is launch day for Nightwolf number 5. You have issues numbers 1 through 5 available. You've already sprinted to well over 100 backers, and cruising towards your funding goal. For the uninitiated, what's the quick pitch for Nightwolf series, and what do you have available during this launch? That's cool.
Yeah. So Nightwolf is a story about a young man who finds out that he's born a werewolf and gets thrown into a supernatural war against demons, witches, vampires, other werewolves. And so basically this is an ongoing series. In this story arc particularly, there's 12 issues with plans to continue on. So like I said, this is issue 5. This is kind of like where, after my last Kickstarter, issue 4 left off, it's kind of like he's learning how to maneuver through being this, a werewolf. This is all new to him. He's, friends and family got all ripped away from him, and just has to make his way through. And he is being trained by another werewolf named Snowpaw, who is a over 200-year-old Scottish werewolf. And it's so basically through the campaign you can get the catch-up tier. You can get all issues 1 through 5. But if you're already a Wolfpack member, you can catch up where you left off. You can get issue 5 with there's several different variant covers. So there's the standard retail version. There's limited variants. Each have different runs. There's one by Thomas Tenney, who is a industry veteran. He's done stuff for Marvel, Creepshow, DC, a lot of others. There's also variant covers done by Chris Williams, who's one of my usual guys that I love to get his artwork. He does a great job drawing werewolves. That's also a limited print run. And then new to our variants is Hedwin Salazar. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But that's also a limited print run as well. You can you can grab the mystery box. You get all of the variants from issues 1 through 5 in this box, as well as a guaranteed CGC mystery copy of Nightwolf signed by myself and may possibly signed by one of the artists. We also have a new Lego figure that we're bringing out. It's the human version of Snowpaw.
Nice.
And you can grab new T-shirts with the design of issue 5 on it. You can get a Wolfpack hoodie. Also, you can get a hat, for a Lone Wolf Comics hat, and face mask. Like cons, you still have to wear face masks, even though they're starting to come up. So I have some if you want to howl in style.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, this is the latest campaign looks great, and you've been on the show before. We sort of I encourage people, if you want to know more about Rob's story, dig into some of the earlier episodes of the comics launch where he was on. We talked about how initially you came to Kickstarter just sort of as like a first foray into the world of comics, and that launch didn't work out, but you walked away from the platform for a while. You chose to self-fund to prove how committed you were to getting this story done, and since then you've racked off 3 successful launches, well on your way to your 4th in a row, and so again, it's been a fun story to work with you and to see this these campaigns and this book find its audience, find its wolf pack. Now, one of the things I kind of want to talk to you and pick your brain on is just sort of this idea of, okay, after you've sort of gotten the Kickstarter engine rolling and gotten to the point where you realize, oh, it's not just about one launch, it's about Kickstarter is one of the sales channels that you work into your creative business. Your last launch was November 2020, around the same time as Wailing Blade, and now you're back with another launch. Timing, rhythm of launches, but brushing up with the realities of production and fulfillment. What are some challenges? What are some things and some decisions you had to make around this launch, launching when it did, and what were your plans going into the year, and how those had to adjust based on the realities of
things? Yeah. So my goal this year was to launch 3 different Kickstarters, one for issue 5, which we're doing now. And then I was also planning to do a launch for my Snowpaw spinoff series around like summertime, which still might be able to do that within the summer launch. And then I was also planning on doing a issue 6 launch for Nightwolf. However, a lot of that kind of got delayed and off track, so that Nightwolf one might not be till early 2022. And just a lot of it was, so after my last campaign fulfilled, I had to deal with a lot of delays because of the pandemic, and Carlos, my artist, his father was sick, his grandmother passed away, a lot of different things that had happened. And so a lot of the extra art for the 16 extra pages kind of got delayed for the trade paperback. And then by the time we got the book, got his art done, and then Gat colored the pages, and then I would letter them. I got, the book digitally done and ready for print early, or it was late January, early February. But by that time it was, Chinese New Year, and my printer for the trade paperback is through Printlore, and they print through China. So they were going on their vacations for the Chinese New Year and all other kind of stuff like that. And then boat delays. You even had a delay too, if I recall, with the Wailing Blade. So yeah,
definitely.
That.
yeah, the books were just sort of sitting in limbo for about 6 weeks, even after they got to the US, which was always frustrating. Thankfully, I think so many backers and so many just people in their everyday lives have been sort of all dealing with this. Shipping delays have just been kind of a part of life. So this was one of the later Kickstarters I've ever delivered. Got the least amount of pushback on it and angry backers at it, because I think ultimately they know that it was going to be worth the wait. And I think that's the same as going to be with your book. And I will say, whenever you push the envelope on things, try to do something above and beyond, like a die cut hardcover. There's going to be lessons learned. There's going to be multiple times going back and forth with your printer. There's going to be, and so it's not as easy as, throwing a print on a Redbubble type site, or,
exactly.
And having it be there 2 days later.
Yeah, and when I was talking to Sam over at Printlore, a lot of the because of the way the claws are on the die cut, cutting it was being difficult. So they had to try a different method, like a new laser treatment to be able to do it. The vellum, being able to put it together with multiple colors and not just a single color. They had to do a totally different like screen printing process. It became trial and error for them as well, to get it together. And then, so luckily, as of last week, it was being shipped. So yes, we're a little bit late on that delivery. However, I've been very upfront with, my wolf pack. Yesterday I shared photos that Sam sent me of the actual physical books, which I am just looking at them. I was so excited to, I had to share those right away. I mean, they're gorgeous. They're just like looking at your book whenever it came in. I mean, it's, and watching, it's being able to see those pages being turned.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that basically, it came down to, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to hold up production because, my issue 5 was done. And at this point I'm like, it was just sitting ready to go. I had to be able to do something with it. This launch is actually a month behind where I originally was planning on going. And so it was like, all right, well, I'm going to, I talked to you, a couple other of our creator friends, and, asked your opinions. And then I wanted to make sure that I talked to my audience, my wolf pack, how they felt about, what should I do? So I polled them. I said, hey, here's the deal. I just gave it straight out, gave it to them like how it is. I'm like, I will move at whatever pace you want me to move. If you guys want me to hold off or wait, I will. But almost 70% of the people who took the survey, my wolf pack, they were hungry for the next issue. They wanted it ASAP. So to kind of like help with the people who didn't necessarily agree with them, I also, I'm throwing out an exclusive print that they're going to get. It's kind of like, just to kind of help with a little bit of the, give them a thank you for their patience. I want to make sure that everybody's happy. I mean, I know I can't make everybody happy, but I'm trying to do what I can to, make everybody happy in the end. Because really that's what I want. I want everybody to be happy with the book. I want everybody to be able to enjoy it, and so that's kind of like how we ended up today where we are now. It's, surprisingly going well. First day, like I said, I tried telling everybody, I got their opinions. I wanted to make sure, and it actually has worked out well because I was really, really nervous going into this today.
Yeah. It's, one of those things where you don't launch a comic Kickstarter if you don't have a great imagination. And at some points, sometimes that imagination works for us, and sometimes that imagination can go and imagine all the worst case scenarios, because that's what a lot of things. That's what we do with our writing, is imagine, what could go wrong, right?
Oh yeah.
And there's a story that we tell ourselves, but ultimately, I think. You went through the right process, and talked a little bit about just, keeping, I mean, that's one thing, keeping your backers that are waiting for a book that has been delayed, keeping them up to date on the process as soon as picks come in, as soon as development. I know I saw in an update, you included like a selectively, blacked out where it would reveal like personal information or whatever, but it revealed that the actual emails you're getting from your printer.
I didn't want anybody like reaching out to Sam and being like, "Where is it?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I redacted her information, but basically, I'm like, here's exactly. I'm like, this is the same information I'm getting.
Yeah. Well, that's great, and I think as a creator that you've got this series. I know you want to do a spin-off series. This is kind of the reality of things especially when you're trying to work with multiple projects, and sometimes there's something that goes wrong in fulfillment, or not even go wrong, just it's a delay. Things are taking longer than expected, which happens with just about everything. and making a decision to move forward in a way that your audience had time to give their thoughts on. I think that's just it's a good upfront approach, and people know that they're going to get the books, and you've already, like, the other thing is nice is that you've been able to deliver digital rewards to everyone.
Oh yeah. All the digital boards have been released way back in February when the book was finally finished. And plus I think too, like, my track record with my single issues is like, I was like, boom, once the campaign was done, the funds came in, went off to the printer, boom, in their mailboxes. Yeah. And I think this is going to be around the same situation because I'm using my same printer, using Comic Impressions, and and Rich and I have already talked. He's aware that the project is happening. Basically, I'm literally probably going to send the print file to him to send me proofs probably this week. So printed proofs are actually probably going to be in even before this campaign is done. That's another nice thing about this project is it's been so ready to go that it's a matter of just as soon as the funds come in from Kickstarter, it's just going straight off the printer, come back, and off we go. Yeah. Which actually may coincide with the same time as with the trades. I might even be able to like get them like either at the same time or one after another. Like it'll be like boom, boom.
Nice. So, let's talk a little bit about building a fan community around this book. The Wolfpack you've mentioned. You've brought them in on the decision to launch this thing, and you've communicated the ups and downs, the highs and lows. I see a great use of an animated GIF on your Kickstarter is your profile of the Wolfpack over here. Love this little animated. For those of you listening on the podcast in the future, you have basically a 4x4 square of, and in each square there's pics of either backers or fans from conventions or creators we all know and love holding up your books, and then the squares will alternate and change, showing like you probably could have made this multiple scrolls down, but the endless loop of an animated GIF makes it seem like the Wolfpack is legioned. Don't mess with the pack, right?
Well, you know what? And I could also I could have put even more pictures in there. It just even a GIF at some point, the size was getting too big, so I actually had to trim it down even to what I have.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, what have you learned about building like an actual like a community and naming it and all of that? What's worked for you to get people to be willing to take a picture with your book and get excited about it?
Yeah, so as you mentioned earlier about my failed Kickstarter launch, I didn't have a pack. Lone Wolf Comics was because it was just me. That's why I named it that. And as far as growing my audience, I didn't have one when I first launched, and I knew I had something that people would be interested in because I actually, if I would have started at like a $5,000 goal instead of my playing on the Hawk level, at that 20K, I would have funded surprisingly, just starting out the gate. I had that little bit of overconfidence, but I knew I had a great product, a great book story. So basically learning that, there was a calling for the book. Once I regrouped, I was like, okay, now I need to I need to go and I need to build an audience. I can't just go out there and start with nothing. So I started going to Comic-Cons, when that was still a thing. Yeah. And my first one, I took only 100 copies of the book, my first issue, and I almost sold out of all of them. And I thought, okay, well, there's actually something here. And then, that was even before I even started gathering email addresses, which I wish I would have started back then. but anyway, so like it was like, okay, now I got the con bug in me. I'm gonna go con to con to con within, you know, close enough driving distance as I could, or that I could even afford to get into. And so just being able to talk to people and you know, show how passionate I am about the project, about the story, you know, getting them excited about it, you know, putting the books in their hands and showing them the art. I think that that's a big thing, is that, you know, being able to, you know, show them that, hey, you know, this is, you know, this is cool art, you know, even for myself, like I, you know, my artists, like I try to put like as much quality into them, you know, like I'll pay a little bit extra just to get like that quality art in there. Because I want, you know, as a fan myself, because I'm a huge comic fan and always has been. And, you know, the art's, you know, the biggest part of it, I think, aside from the story, because the art tells the story, but it also has to be eye catching. So, you know, like I said, putting it in people's hands, talking about the story, you know, and I've actually had at a con several people who would have either read it that day while they were in line waiting for a celebrity or a panel, come back and were like, oh my God, this is amazing. When's the next one coming out? Or even like if they were there the day before and come back the next day, you know, like, so the fact that like they got excited.
Nothing better than that. That's
right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, so it's, you know, and then people, you know, it's taking pictures themselves, or, you know, so it started off with a lot of people sending me stuff. And then I'm like, well, hey, well, you know, while we're there, you know, let's take pictures, you know. So I started taking pictures with people. And then I'll say, you know, it's one of those things too. You got to be, you can't be afraid to get in there and talk to them, and then like take a picture with them, or, you know, and then just say, hey, would you mind if I take a picture of you holding the book? You know, like, because really, you know, it's a lot of it is, you know, it's showing respect for them, but also, you know, you have to ask that. You can't just be like, hey, you know, snap a picture just because, you know, you actually have to, you know, make a bond, or, you know, and talk to them for a bit, you know, spend time. That's a big part of it too, is spending time with them and talking to them, and not just treating it as a transaction, you know, because it's not. They're, you know, they're people who, you know, you form these bonds with, and, you know, and once you kind of have that connection, you know, you can be able to, you know, to talk to them. I personally, whenever somebody backs my project, it may not be right away, but I will take the time to individually thank them through the Kickstarter messenger. And thank them for either, you know, and I'll recognize if they've been there before or if they're new. So I'll welcome somebody if they've come back, you know, for the hunt, if you will. Or if they're a new pack member, and I, you know, just taking that extra step, and making them feel, you know, not just a number, but like an actual member, I think is one of the biggest things to do. Cause, you know, making connections with people, you know, especially when we're, you know, stuck at home, you know, nowadays, I think is a big thing. I think just being able to have that connection, you know, one way or another, you know, try and reach out best you can, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And so sort of in a somewhat related thing, the comics community is really special on Kickstarter. And I know one of the things that you really wanted to talk a little bit about is just the importance of networking and making like genuine connections with other creators. How have you been able to do that? And how have you been sort of utilizing some of those connections specifically on this launch?
Yeah. So, you know, again, starting out with the cons, like meeting people at tables, or, you know, or seeing names you recognize online, you know, just going up to each other and talking, you know, that's a big step. You know, when I first found the comics launch community through you, you know, it opened up a whole new world of, you know, networking and connections. And, you know, so being able to make friends with other creators and learn from them and teach them, you know, what I know, you know, being able to share ideas. You know, I've learned a lot from you, not just from your trainings, but just from talking to you and just being around you. And, you know, the same with other creators that we've talked to, you know, and it's not just, you know, just talking or, you know, being, but actually interacting with their stuff too, like actually being genuinely interested, like in other creators. Like I try to back as many campaigns as possible within my monetary limitations.
Yeah. Without being kicked out of the house.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. My wife follows me on Kickstarter, so I kind of have to watch my spending.
Wait, you backed how many? Well, 313 backed. Rob Superbacker Multari over here is.
So, and what I try to do too is like, there'll be days where like I can't back a bunch especially when like lately there seems to be like a slew of them. There's so many great campaigns and I want to be able to back everybody, but it's at one point, it's like, okay, I'll post on my Facebook page, hey, share your links. I can't back you right now, but I would love to share your stuff. So it's not just, talking shop. It's actually interacting, sharing each other's things, being genuine. Don't be fake. That's one of the, that's a big no-no because people can see through that in the end. So it's just really, building your network through, when you're at a con, talk to people. That's how I've gotten, relationships with a lot of my artists who do my covers, is through cons. I met them online through Facebook. Specifically Thomas Tenney, like, that industry legend there. He, I won a pen drawing through one of the Heirs of Isildur campaigns by Matt and Steph. And from there, like, I thanked him, and then I asked to join, be friends on Facebook or whatever, but like just making that connection. And then like, that was over a year ago. And from there, I was actually, I comment on his posts. I talk, like I actually talked to him like anybody else that I would be friends with, and really, and then like a year later, I just was like out of the blue. I'm like, hey, would you mind? And he was very, generous about it. And, and he's genuinely a nice guy. He's great to talk to, and his wealth of knowledge from like his time at Marvel. Like I love his posts because he talks, messages basically about his time and his influences and the people he worked with, and he shows his art. It's having those connections. That's a big part of it too, because then you're, when you actually have that artwork for the next, for your book, you can actually talk about that. You can, actually feel more, you can feel close to it because it's not just hired help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then also like, making connections with, you and I did cross promotions. Kevin, Joseph and I did cross promotions in my last one, which kind of leans to where we are right now. Like on my page, as you're showing here, we have exclusive crossovers with other creators. Daphne Legge, she's got her Ego Raven campaign going on right now. I approached her. She did a print for my trade. So I'm like, I know, that she would be great for doing this as well. So I, reached out to her and I was like, hey, do you want to do a cross promotion together? And, like a lot of her, like she has gorgeous art when it comes to like, especially like anthropomorphic, creatures. So she was definitely one I thought that like would have been great to reach out to and to work with for a cross promotion, for our backers. Yeah.
And so, it seems like a nice fantasy cross promotion. So this is an example, the base level, there's like multiple levels of how creator cross promotion can work, obviously backing, as you said, but sharing links to other people's projects on your social. Next level up is just backing other people's campaigns. Another way is posting updates to other creators' campaigns. And then you can even take it even further, like you're doing with Daphne. It looks like you have actually 2 crossover exclusives going on during this one.
Yeah, actually, well, this is 2 of 3. The third one's actually in production. I'm probably going to put it hard stop on that because I've been, other people have approached me and it's like, I don't know where the limit here is. And I don't want to bottom out right now.
Everything you do adds a little bit of complexity, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I was like, let's stop at 3, and then I will figure something else out. Like Brant and I actually talked today that we both missed an opportunity because, his new book that he's got going on has like a werewolf in it too. So that would have been a great one. Yeah. But yeah, with Catherine and Phil, like they're doing an actual crossover comic for their 2 characters. But this kind of takes it to that next level. Whereas we're doing the 3 of us are then doing this crossover print together, which it was Scooby-Doo inspired. So it was a little bit more cartoony, but it's still, it came out really great. And then Andrew Gilday and I are doing one for his Forgotten Hymns 2 that's live. Once that artwork's done, we'll have that out there, but it's a crossover with his occultist verse Nightwolf. It's done by William Russell and Gat Melvin with the colors for that. So that'll be up there probably within the next day or 2, and I'll talk more about those, coming up.
Yeah, you need to keep some stuff in the hopper waiting to go to keep the momentum going all campaign long. So we won't make you turn over all your cards. But that is one of the best things about the Kickstarter community. It's that backers discover one creator, and then if they like, or one series that they like, they keep coming back for Nightwolves. But when you yourself are a creator that is plugged into the greater comics Kickstarter community, you then have the opportunity to really turn backers on to a lot of other great comics. And in so many cases, as long as you don't have that like zero-sum mindset that, oh, I'm going to lose my backers to some other better creator out there. No, like it works the exact opposite. Backers are even more of a fan of you for helping turn them on to other great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I get compliments all the time. Like whenever I do a backer update, I always project, and I've actually gotten compliments about, from my Wolfpack saying, "Oh, it's great that you're, sharing these projects. I love this project. Thank you for sharing it." It's and really, Kevin Joseph said it, always says it right. It's a rising tide, lifts all boats. So helping each other, lift up. It's really I think it's helpful on all, because it's not a competition. And if you think it is, then you're already losing.
Yeah. So I know you have a spin-off series coming up that you teased a little bit about. So a character that's stepping into a bigger role in the Nightwolf series, Snowpaw, but you have an origin story for her that you're hoping to spin off into its own series. I'm curious, as someone that has managed to be very, very organized when it comes to keeping one creative team in line, and you've got the Nightwolf train moving. How has it been trying to add like a second series, and what are some of the challenges there? Not just creative, but also potentially financial. Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, so it's definitely added a whole nother like level to like just trying to manage everything on top of my full-time job and family situation. Yeah. It's like, all right, now I have extra stuff that I have to talk to. So what I tried doing was staggering everything. So with Nightwolf 5, when we're doing that, because I already had my team in place, it was just easy, get them going. And while that was happening, it was okay. Now I'm looking for artists, interviewing, sending out emails to people who might be interested that I like their art. And eventually I found the artists that I wanted to work with, which towards the end of this campaign, I will be revealing who they are and revealing more art as stretch goals. But before getting in too much into that, so with, and then managing that team, once that team was in place, I use Trello. as a lot of people know, they kind of joke that like I should get a referral
Yeah.
fee for Trello for how much I talk about it. But I, the way I manage my team is through Trello. I have boards for, the pages and being able to share references and links to things. And then also having a checklist of changes, edits that might need to happen. It keeps a great log of it. So being able to jump between boards to the different, artists helps keep track of all that for me. It's not just getting lost in email. It's not getting lost in Messenger. So that's helped a lot, being organized that way, and it definitely saving time. So like as towards the end of Nightwolf 5, when I was working with Carlos and Gat, I was also like, I'd be getting new stuff from the Snowpaw artists, which I think right now we're page 10 is in the final inking to then go to the colors. So we're like that far along already with Snowpaw. So like getting into that, like, so at the first couple pages of that, then the last couple pages of Nightwolf, it was like, all right, go to next. So like, I'll put everything up in like Photoshop. And if I have to make any like suggestions or whatever, like I'll Photoshop manipulate what I'm trying to share to them to kind of give a better idea what I'm looking for, and then drop it back into the Trello board. So that's something that helps keep track of that as well, is being able to mark up the art. And just especially with like Carlos, and he's from South America, from Chile, so English is his second language, and making sure that everything's visual helps with Trello too. I think it helps us be able to communicate better.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah, I can see it where that would come in even more handy, especially when there is a language barrier or a little bit of one there.
Mm-hmm.
This is awesome, man. I'm excited to see what other tricks you have up your sleeve throughout this launch. I know that here we are on day one. You're rocking and rolling, and it's already been a strong start for this book. I'm really excited to get that hardcover in hand as well, and I know you are too.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to just sort of mention? Something you're excited about for coming down the pipe or the rest of the year?
Yeah. So I'll share a little bit of like the character design from the new artist. So this is this was her first pass with Snowpaw, and definitely it's going to be a different style than what Nightwolf is, but I think in itself, because it takes place in 19th century Scotland, I think it caters to that time period as well.
Yeah.
And so just and that's part of like making the connections too, is being able to reach out to artists, and I think once you've had a little bit more of a experience behind your back in being able to talk, the game already, as far as like being able to make a project, put it together, and go. But if you're definitely planning on doing more than one project simultaneously, or or stagger them, it's keep organized, and just again, when you're be open and honest to everybody involved, as far as the artists, the backers, or as I refer to as my wolf pack, and your friends, your artists, your creator peers, everybody, like, just, when you make those genuine connections, be genuine. And I think that'll take you very far, as far as, being, especially if you plan on serializing and continuing to grow, not only in your career, but with a series, or, farther.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely the wolf pack was howling in my inbox with seeing a lot of people that I follow on Kickstarter that have been backing this to help get you off to a great start. And you picked up a few more backers since we've been on live here, so that's always awesome to see, Rob. So again, thanks so much for sharing your insights and this project with us, and we're really excited to see this project continue to thrive on Kickstarter.
Thank you for having me again, Tyler. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And everyone else, thanks for watching. And if you have more questions for Rob, he'll be popping in and out of the comments, I'm sure, because he's an active member of our Greater Comics Launch community. So feel free to ask away. And who knows, maybe you can talk him into another crossover print before the campaign is over. Twist his arm a little bit and see what happens. But thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. And thanks again, Rob, for sharing your insights.